Drinking tea turned me to a superhero. Yeah. What up, my dudes? I wanted to come in here and make this video while it was all still fresh on your minds what that real life Anaheim 1 track actually looked like. Something wrong with y'all boys' memories, I'm telling you. Okay, so the biggest argument for the terrain deformation system on MX Simulator is it's just not realistic when the track is not changing over time. So you have to have the Erode system. Regardless of anything else, you have to have the track changing over time. That is more realistic than anything else. You can literally flip that all around, and you can make the argument that the only time that the real life Anaheim 1 track actually looked like this right here, aka absolutely zero ruts, zero pre-made, zero roughness, zero character, nothing on the track, the entire track is just perfectly glass flat smooth. You can turn all that around and make the argument that the only time that the real life Anaheim 1 was actually like this was on the very first lap of the very first heat race. And that was it. Other than that, this shit is unrealistic. It's not realistic to restart every single time you do a heat race, an LCQ, a main event, and the track to start back on completely glass flat smooth. Did some of you boys see the real life track? Did you? I don't think you really did. I think you need to get you some glasses, bro. Did you see the first lap of the main event before they ever even rode any laps on the track, before terrain deformation would ever even be, would ever even come into play? There were like 5 or 6 pre-made ruts coming out of the corners on the real life Anaheim 1. There was roughness going down the start straight. There were 5 or 6 ruts coming out of the corners. That track was not perfectly glass flat smooth like it is here on this Anaheim 1 on MX Simulator. Yes, you can make the argument that the main event got more rutty and more rough as it went along, but you can also make the exact same argument that it was not perfectly smooth like it is right here on the first lap of the main event. That's my whole entire point. You boys want to act like it's unrealistic if the track doesn't change over time, but it's also just as unrealistic to start the main event with the perfectly glass smooth track with no roughness and no ruts and no nothing. That is also just as unrealistic. You do realize that, right? RF, do you even understand what they do in real life Supercross? I'm really starting to question that. If you go back to that main event, I'm not talking about on lap 5, I'm not talking about on lap 10, I'm talking about on motherfucking lap 1. This specific corner right here, after the start straight area, I swear to Pastrana, there was literally 6 or 7 ruts coming out of this corner right here on the very first lap of the main event. This is not even close to how the real life track was. It's not even close. Spency boy talking too much truth out here now, boy. Oh my gosh. These whoops had all kind of character. They were different sizes. Each whoop had a different size to it because of the previous races that they ran, like the heat races and the LCQs and all that kind of stuff. Even on the very first lap, before they ever even rode any laps of that main event, them whoops were all kinds of different sized and had all kinds of character on them and little, the beginning of like little rough spots on the whoops. That's my whole point. I'm not mad about the Erode system in itself. That's not what I'm mad about on MX Sim. What twists me the wrong way is the fact that they use the Erode system as a, like a crutch. They use it as an excuse to not go in here and do this shit properly. It's just simply easier for RF to go in here and make one version of the track with no pre-made, no character, no ruts, no roughness, and then just turn the Erode system on. You do realize how lazy and low effort that really is. You boys do understand that, right? This is not realistic, guys. You want to go in there and, toot your horn about all that, the Erode makes it more realistic. Meanwhile, every time you start a race, even the main event, you're starting on a perfectly glass flat, the most unrealistic kind of feeling to a track that you can possibly have. Do you see how hypocritical that is? Do you see my point? This is the kind of track design that I would have been expecting like back in 2018 when they first started doing the terrain deformation system, Okay, you make a track that's perfectly smooth because you don't really know what you're doing. It is 2023. I swear to God, some of you boys, you forget how many years it's been that they've been doing this Erode beta testing thing with this game. You forget it's been half a damn decade that they've been doing this. This is just not acceptable anymore. Period. You boys need to quit defending this shit. You need to really stop. Because this ain't it, bro. And if you think this is it, you need to go watch that main event again in real life. You need to go see all those ruts and see the character that was on the track in the whoops and all that kind of stuff on the very first lap of the main event. It was nothing like this. And, some of you guys are going to try to make that argument of, well, Spence, Anaheim 1 typically is not that rough and rutted. How could RF have known that it was going to be like that, Spencer? Oh, thank you for proving my point about how RF shouldn't make the replica tracks a week before the real-life race actually happens. Oh, thank you for proving my point, boys. RF is even more so lazy to the point to where they just build the most basic track design off of the track map a week before the real life track comes out. So then you can't have any of that kind of technically this track should have been a little bit more like on the muddy style vibe. It should have been more like an East Coast style track. But in fact, it was nothing like that because they built the track a week before the real life track. And listen, guys, in a perfect world, MX Simulator would have reflex-style terrain deformation, and it would work really good with pre-made, and, RF would actually care about what they're doing, and we would all sit around the campfire and sing Kumbaya together. Yeah, that would be great. That would be awesome, but that's not reality. This is a game from 2007. It is a game engine from 2007, and you are trying to put a modern game feature into this game, and it just simply has never worked to the level that it was supposed to. It just never has. And some of you boys still have not woke up to that. It's been 5 years now. They've been going in here and messing with this terrain deformation Erode beta test. The positives do not outweigh the negatives with the Erode system. The benefits do not outweigh all of the things that you have to sacrifice for it. It just doesn't. And that's precisely what I'm trying to say. It would just simply be more realistic at this point to just turn the Erode system completely off, because apparently it can't work properly with having the right amount of pre-made and character on these tracks on the first lap. You can't have actual dirt feeling dirt. You have to have this softer, loamy, built around a road kind of weird traction on these tracks. You can't have any character, any pre-made, anything on the track. You have to have these basic from 2007 looking dirt decals. They literally look like they're from 2007, bro. Play-Doh ass looking dirt decals so that you can see the Erode system better. You know what I'm saying? All these things you're having to sacrifice just to get the track to change over time. And even still, what is it gonna do? After maybe 15 laps, it might make 2 ruts coming out of the corners. 2 ruts that are actually more like berms. They're not even really like ruts. It doesn't make the proper ruts going in a straight line. It never has. It doesn't even make the proper ruts in the corners. That's what cracks me up. You boys want to act like the Erode system is so realistic, bro. Meanwhile, it makes 2 giant berms in every corner, the exact same kind of berms in every corner. It's not even close to doing what you can make with the pre-made. It's not even close as realistic as what you can make with the pre-made. What they should be doing, what would be the more realistic alternative at this point, would to be just to shut the Erode system completely off, go in there and make 3, 4, 5 different pre-made ruts coming out of the corners, okay? And you can go in there and put all kinds of cool character on the ruts, make some of them cut really sharp, make some of them kind of rougher, make some of them bigger, make some of the corners not have as many ruts as some of the other corners, make some of the corners where the ruts go all the way to the jump face and create kind of that kicker vibe. You can make so much more character on the whoops. Whenever you're not even worried about the Erode system, you know what I'm saying? You can go in there and have multiple different versions. You can have a qualifying version that has a little bit of pre-made, a little bit of character, but not too much. You can have a heat race version and an LCQ version that has a little bit more ruts, a little bit more character, a little bit more pre-made. And then you get to that main event version, and that's where you basically make it exactly like what the real life Anaheim 1 was on the first lap. You know, that's what I'm saying right now. In a perfect world, I would love to have terrain deformation in this game. But it's a game engine from 2007 that they have to sacrifice every other element to the tracks to even get the Erode system to even remotely work properly. And even then, it's not even realistic anyways. How do you boys not understand this? A lot of you boys do understand this, but I'm speaking to all of you that are still caught up in RF's little web. You're still caught up in their little trap like, well, as long as the track's changing over time, nothing else matters, bro. We can come in here and make a literal beginner, basic, the most unrealistic kind of base track version you could possibly have for a Supercross track, and we'll just slap that Erode system on top of it and everything will be all good. It's more realistic now, boys. No, it's not.